Today we're going to be watching the second part of A World Without Racism, the Lanier Phillips story. Welcome back to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and this story here is very interesting. Stay till the end. Let's YouTube and simmer.
She began to break and all the oil had come out. Oil was coming out. And everybody looked like little rats in the water covered with that crude oil.
I, along with others, went down hand over hand on a rope.
I told the other blacks that were standing there with me, if I said, at least we're going to die if we stay on board ship. Let's go for it. You know, he said, well, this is Iceland. You don't know what they're going to do. Say, remember, we just left Iceland and no blacks are allowed.
Wow.
Oh, boy, it says, just like being in Georgia or Mississippi.
You mean that you're... I'm sorry, just trying to absorb this. Like,
yes.
You're in a life and death situation.
Yes.
On the deck of getting practically washed off the
That's
deck
right.
of a destroyer, which is breaking up.
Yeah.
And there's 4 or 5 black guys having a discussion about
Yes.
whether they should actually swim for it or not, because they might not be allowed in the land.
Right. They want to stay on board ship rather than take a chance of landing in Iceland. I said, well, you know, we're going to die. I said, if we stay on board this ship, I said, at least we can die fighting. I said, let's go. When I jumped in there, it was like I felt just one quick pain, like that went over my entire body, and it was all over. I didn't feel any pain after that. I just felt sleepy. And when we got ashore, I said, well, I made it here. I may as well die, you know. So I just laid down there on the beach, and I closed my eyes to die. You know?
Wow.
This is the end. And this fella came and he said, get him up. Don't let him lie there. Say, pick him up. Say, he'll surely die if he lays there. I say, walk him around. So he pulled me up. And he had on a cap and coat. I knew he wasn't Navy. And he began to walk me around. And from there, it brought life to me. I said, man, here's a white person who wants me to live. And, you know, if I
Wow.
had been in Georgia, they'd say, kick him out of the way, you know. Let's help these white people.
Wow.
Then I think I passed out.
They took them to the where there was a temporary first aid station erected, and of course the call came to the women. All the women had a place to go out to clean them, and that's where the story came in at Lanier. Now there's a little funny story. See, he was there among all the other survivors. The ladies were cleaning them up and scrubbing them up because they were covered with tar, with this old stuff, this crude oil. They were so filthy. They had to be, every part of them had to be washed. So when he opened his eyes,
I could see these white ladies all around. There I was, stark naked on this table. And I heard one of the ladies say, this is the curliest hair I've ever seen. I said, oh, boy, this is the end of me. You know? I said, hell, they're going to say, get him out of here. He's black, you know. And then she said,
this poor fellow, the tar went right into his pores. I'm scrubbing and scrubbing, and I can't get him clean.
you know, and I spoke up. She said, can't get it. I said, well, you can't get it off. It's the color of the skin.
And she said, oh, I'll get it off all right. And so she continued to scrub.
See, I have a little story about something similar happening to me. I mean, I wasn't dying or anything like that, you know, so I'm not making light of this gentleman's story, but something sort of similar. I went to visit some people. I ain't even gonna go into details of who they were, but they took me to a house where the gentleman's father was, and the guy was like really old. I mean, he looked like he was in his 70s, late 70s, maybe early 80s. And I went into the house and I was about to sit down. And he said, no, 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 don't sit down. And I was like, okay. And I'm looking around and he says, you have to go wash up first. I mean, you can't come straight from the coal mines and go sit in the chair. You're gonna get that black soot on the chair. And then they had to explain to the guy that, that's the color of his skin. And I think it's senility that's really caused that, because I'm quite sure this older gentleman had seen black people before. It's not like it was way up into the eastern Kentucky mountains where, they have seen black people, but I know a lot of them didn't communicate because, quite frankly, I got married to somebody who was Caucasian, and I was pretty much the first person of color that she actually sat down and have a conversation with. And this was in the late 80s now. This wasn't like in the 60s. This was the late 80s that this happened. And, that him saying that this woman was scrubbing on him, trying to get the black off of him, for lack of a better term, remind me of that story, of that old gentleman telling me when I come from the coal mines, I have to go wash because I'm going to dirty his couch. Let's get back to the story here.
Violet Pike, which is dead now, she had never seen a black man before. So, I mean, she didn't differentiate. Just thought he was a white man with the black into his pores so bad she couldn't get it out.
And I was thinking, oh boy, are they going to lynch me? Here I am.
Wow.
If I had been in Georgia, they would have ran those white women out of town and maybe lynched me for letting them bathe me,
And of course, when the men were taking him out to the different homes, she said, bring him to my home. So that evening then, she prepared supper. I mean, he was amazed that he ate with the family, and he drank out of china cups, the same as the family.
And they put me in the bed, and this lady, she would come in and say, are you warm? Are you all right? And she did this the remainder of the night. I didn't go to sleep anymore because I was still afraid. I didn't know where I was, what was going to happen to me. But then I kept asking myself, did I die? And, and I went to heaven.
Oh.
What's going on?
It's kind of sad.
Look at these pictures, huh? After all these years. Now, I'll show you. Lanier, at that time, there he is, huh? 18 years old. See?
The next morning, they gave me a coat and a cap, and I put these things on, and I wanted to get outside to see what was going on, and I went outside, and Ina was out there taking pictures.
And I seen him, and I said, come on over and get in the picture.
Well, I stood aside, black is only way he'd take a picture with a white is because how many logs he could lift, for the sawmill, how many pounds of cotton he could pick in a day, or something like that. He was the white man's prize Negro, or something like that. And she said, get in there and, get your picture taken.
Mm-hmm. That's him, right there. Yeah, these are the ones I took with the Ronnie.
4 white faces and 1 black one. Mm-hmm. This story I'd heard as a joke about the Newfoundlanders who tried to scrub the black off a black man. This is like a picture of the joke. But it turns out the real story doesn't stop here.
Well, it hasn't been a day pass. Since that happened, it hasn't been a day pass I didn't think about St. Lawrence. They changed my entire philosophy of life.
I always say, and judging from my experience, that a lot of bigotry and racism comes from us not knowing each other. So, for that woman never seen a black person before, so she don't really know the difference. She's just seeing another human being. And on top of that, people would meet people and go, well, wait a minute now. Everything we've heard and everything we've been taught is not the way it is at all. And I'll give you an example with my mother-in-law. The first time she saw me, she went, "Oh my God, he's so black." You know what I mean? 2 minutes, 2 hours later, when sitting talking to me, I got invited to Thanksgiving. I didn't know what Thanksgiving was, but she's like, "Are you coming up for Thanksgiving?" And me and her, we became good buddies. You know what I mean? She pretty much saw me for who I was, just another human being trying to live, trying to get along. That's why the separation. They don't want people to think that, and I'm not just talking about. It's not just between black and white. It's between religious groups too. You know, they stick together and they don't get to know each other. So what they hear is is what they've been told. You know what I mean? And I'll break it down to the two main fractions of religion right now: Christians and Muslims. It's just Christians are being told one thing, and Muslims are being told another thing. And until people start getting to know each other on a mass scale, because you know I live in a country where there's all kinds of religious people here, and they get along. The kids get along. The kids go to school and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's not a little racism going on and bigotry, but it's all because of the politics trying to keep people apart. So divide and rule, divide and rule. Let's get back to the video here and thing. This is quite bringing back some memories to me and all of that.
So they gave me leave. I think I got 15 days leave. And I went to see my aunt who lived in Chattanooga. And we would catch the bus from there to go into town. And the blacks had to sit behind the whites. And what the whites would do, if it was only 3 whites on the bus, maybe 2 of them would go to the seat just before the last seat, which means that on the way in, if the bus filled up, the whites would have plenty of seats, and the blacks would only have that one seat. So when we got on, my aunt and I, the back seat was filled, and here was this white guy, so we sat in the seat in front of him. He reached and grabbed me by the neck and pushed me up and said, "Nigga, don't you sit in front of me." And I was going to fight him. I felt like fighting him then because of the treatment I got in St. Lawrence and what the people have treated me like a human being. I said, "Well, I'm a human. I'm no longer a slave in the lowest and the least, the last." I said, "I'm going to do it." I said, "If I can give my life and fight this war the same as everybody else and can't even ride a bus when I pay the same fare as everybody else, but I can't be seated as everyone else." My mother and my aunt said, "Just be quiet, just be quiet." I said, "We'll be in a few minutes." So I thought about that.
After the shipwreck,
they sent me to Jacksonville, Florida. And when I got to Jacksonville, I was hungry. And when I got off and walked into the station, I saw all these prisoners, Italian and German prisoners, and they had Army MPs, Americans, got them. They had them inside the dining room eating. And I knew that the blacks could go to a window or something somewhere, but I knew they wouldn't be allowed to go into that dining room. And I thought about the people of St. Lawrence, how they had fed me, gave me clothing, and put me in their bed. And I looked at the prisoners, and here I am in American uniform. So I went in to ask, where does the colored, is what they call us then, where can the colored Negroes, get.
Okay, once again it ended abruptly, so come back for part 3 and thing, you know what I mean? The things we do to each other, huh? The things we do to each other. I would like to say that someday it wouldn't, but then it's just going to be somebody else that's getting looked down on and treated differently. Unfortunately, we keep repeating the same mistake, but once politics and power comes in and manipulation comes in, that's the way it's going to be, I guess. You know what I mean? But we could come and watch this Mr. Giant channel and thing, and we could become a collective, spreading that peace and that equal as human beings. I'm not even talking about equal as having houses and cars and all that stuff. Just as people, as spiritual beings. You understand what I'm saying? Thing. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for this video here. I'm also gonna leave a link up top so that you could go watch the first part, so you'll have a nice smooth continuation of this story. And part 2 is coming up. Part 3, sorry, is coming up. So come back and check it out with me, man, and share some of your stories in the comment section. You know what I mean? I don't care what culture you are, what nationality or what color you are. Share some of your experiences in there. The best way we could bridge a gap, like Bob Marley say, is to talk about it, right? You all take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.